What's going on, everyone? We are entering into week 3, so we've got a bunch more minor tournaments that are showing up for Secrets of Power. I wanted to give a little bit of a meta update. Are we seeing some new leaders, new cards, etc.? That said, we don't have a big tournament to base our data on. If we looked at the previous sets, like take for example set 5, we had the Galactic Championships like right after the set release, and so we had a huge amount of data showing up immediately on where the meta was going to be. This is definitely going to take some time. We've had one major tournament really, and that is the Beatle here that showed up last weekend, and that one, you know, there are some casual components to it, so it's not nearly as competitive in terms of like what I would consider the Galactic Championships to be, but it is a good start in terms of developing the meta. And we've got another weekend of some minor tournaments and a continuation of last week's to see where we're at. Are people trying out new things? What's happening? Etc. A big thing in my patrons over on Patreon. Funny enough, we've been discussing set 7 now that spoilers have been released. So appreciate all of you support the channel and allowing me to do more of these videos. But let's dive in as a little bit of a reminder here from last week. We were really not seeing many, if any, set 6 leaders. If we look back and we talked about the previous week's video, we were seeing things like Sabe, Padme showing up a little bit, but really not performing like to the highest levels. If you consider like Legends of the Force meta, we were seeing like Kylos in the top meta, Talzins, and all manner of other cards, and a huge significant portion of the meta being set 5 leaders. This is not the case in set 6. Hardly any leaders are really that truly high level competitive. You can see this is the top 8 for day 2 here. Not a single set 6 leader. We also have the top 16 dished out into the top 4. No set 6 leaders there. Both of which, no set 6 leaders, but some decks that came about because of set 6. For example, Yoda Tarkin was a new addition, not as leaning towards the Force synergies because there's a couple new cards from set 6 that really help out the list. Kira has had some new additions. Anakin Green was basically only here because of set 6. You've got cards like Typho and Mina Bonteri that are excellent additions. I made a full video on that. Han Red got some new additions as well. Definitely some lists that are here from previous leaders or bases that are because of set 6 cards that have made them have some major improvements. In terms of this weekend, we've had a couple of set 6 leaders. Chancellor Palpatine was by far the one that has shown up the most here. You can see here a huge smattering of leaders. Now, I will say with these store showdowns and minor tournaments, in this one, no set 6 leaders, and this one here with the top 4 being Chancellor Palpatine actually winning the whole thing. Even though we're seeing like Chancellor Palpatine show up, these are minor store showdowns. So we really aren't seeing a like massive amount of, you know, sample size. We're not seeing a bunch of people bringing like major competitive decks at the top levels of the meta all the time. You know, like Obi-Wan Yellow, I wouldn't consider this to be a top meta deck, for example. And we're seeing more of those types of lists show up in the store showdown. So seeing someone make top 8 or even winning the whole thing means a lot less in terms of like the overall meta implications than a major tournament. Doesn't mean that the deck isn't strong, just that the actual meta overall hasn't really shifted just because of, well, oh wow, Chancellor Palpatine took down a store showdown, right? With that said, we're going to dive into a few of these lists here and showcase what set 6 has done. Take, for example, the winner of the Beatle Day 2, Yoda Tarkin. There are a couple new additions. Captain Rex, Galen Erso, Karis Nemec, Aggressive Negotiations, and Sudden Ferocity are all, and Knowledge and Defense are all new additions. This deck is very, very intriguing. Before, Yoda Red was one that I again mentioned that people were sleeping on. I mentioned Yoda Red as like, guys, you really got to try out this list, as it hadn't performed amazingly, but the overall style of the deck does really well. And if you're not ready for it, it does some disgusting things. Obviously, it's leveraging Rey. Rey is the whole reason this deck kind of exists in the first place. You get to go ahead and kind of reuse it over and over and over again by using Yoda's ability and then drawing into it with various cards like C-3PO, Knowledge and Defense, you know, all those different cards that allow you to draw cards, or even Yoda's ability himself, giving you access to reuse the Rey for 2 damage to the base and 2 damage to a unit. Absolutely exceptional. Cards like Galen Erso removing units, abilities, Captain Rex giving you Sentinel applications, and Aggressive Negotiations, as well as Knowledge and Defense, giving you payoffs for drawing cards and drawing more cards in the first place. Knowledge Defense giving you that access to deal some damage and draw a card, maybe synergizing with Rey to knock out a unit. And then Aggressive Negotiations. This thing can just one-shot opponents sometimes. It just one-shots things. Like I could, there are so many times where I've seen, an 8, 9, 10 damage hit from this thing in just Aggressive Negotiations, not including the actual unit itself, right? Charismatic has been just by far the strongest 2-drop in the entire game. Like, in my opinion, by far. It just goes in every single aggressive heroism deck. It's a card that we are expected to be absolutely disgusting, and it truly is. But overall, I mean, with the additional applications of being able to utilize Rey, don't need to go with the Force style and try to use Ki-Adi-Mundi and have a bunch of Force turn 1 plays. C-3PO was already a card that you really wanted to play on turn 1. And if you were playing a Force-based deck, that kind of stops your, next couple of turns if you are trying to wait for a Force payoff, which, if you try to use Shirit or Ki-Adi, they'll do anything if you have Force. So this kind of goes on a different direction, and it really performs absolutely amazingly. Then we've got Kira. This is piloted by Wu, who has always done absolutely exceptional in all these events. Kira Data Vault's the one that I brought to the Galactic Championship, so I am definitely partial to this deck because I also really quite enjoy it. And we've got a bunch of new additions here as well. I talked about it before, but Imperial Dark Trooper. This has allowed Kira to kind of attack on a different angle. You now are a little bit more aggressive than you were before. Yes, you still are the controlling style attack, but the Kira flip plus Overwhelming Barrage allowing you to completely wipe out your opponent's board, followed up with, just a continuous hit with 3 from the Imperial Dark Trooper, or a little bit of hits from like Ogdo Bogdo, or another new addition, Lobot. This guy, obviously with Kira's ability can become a 2/2 shielded Sentinel, which is really, really good. But really, just getting it attacked and making it like a 3/1 with Sentinel is still obnoxious. It starts to kill off units, absorbs a lot of damage, and allows you to survive. Also works exceptionally well with Death Trooper, right? Let's say you go turn 1 Lobot, turn 2 Death Trooper, hit Lobot, and hit a unit. That's almost always going to trade with their 2/4s, right? So a 2/2 on your side because of the Sentinel and the Grit, and then a 2/2 because they had a 2/4 start. I mean, that is amazing. And then you're left with a 3/3, right? And you've absorbed damage, all of which can be very, very powerful. Still running the same kind of style with Velda Dragon, No Glory, Power of the Dark Side, Super Laser Blast, Vigilance, Resupply, Super Laser Technician, all the rampant stuff. You still have the late game Darth Vaders, Reinforcement Walkers. But you also have things like Cad Bane coming in from the resource pile with Kira. Obviously, everyone knows how Kira works, getting you reduce that HP, and then you got Cad Bane and kind of finish off units. Obviously, you can construct with Devastating Gunship, just does some amazing things. Another new addition is the Hyperspace Disaster. This one is particularly good because there's a lot of space-based decks around, and being able to specifically target all those while keeping your Kiras and Anakins and Cad Banes around does do some amazing work. So absolutely stellar list. And again, the really strong suit of set 6 has really just been adding these couple of key pieces, couple of plot cards here, getting you extra value, couple of early drops that are really, really solid in a couple of lists, and this reinforces that as well. The new list that we get to see, the Chancellor Palpatine data vault lists that are coming out, well, this one is truly leveraging a lot of set 6 cards by using specifically and focusing in on a set 6 ability in plot. So obviously Chancellor Palpatine trying to draw you plot cards by himself and then giving you that discount when he comes down. But you don't have that many great plot payoffs. You can see here, really, the cards that you're really leveraging: First Light, Chancellor Palpatine, Cad Bane, Slimore, and Dogmatic Shock Squad. I've played a Chancellor Palpatine data vault list in the past. I used all of the cards that are shown here for the most part, and I tried to take advantage of the discount that you're getting. Realistically, this kind of just feels like a weaker Vigilance Command Control list that I've seen. Like if I'm going to compare this to like Kira or Kylo, I would rather run those lists over Chancellor Palpatine, but we're still seeing him give you a lot of value when he comes down. And that's the strength of him, right? He is a 6'8" as a leader himself. That's pretty good. It's pretty good, to be honest. Chancellor Palpatine being a 6'8" is actually a high level of stats. I mean, normally for 7 resources rather, we're seeing 5'8", right? That's pretty nice to see with Chancellor Palpatine. And then you get this big resource reduction. The problem I have with these plot cards in this case is there are some that are really strong. Like First Light is reasonable. Cad Bane is reasonable onto the good side of things. But Dogmatic Shock Squad, Slimore, these cards, like a 4/6 for 6 with Sentinel is not good. Like that is below rate in terms of what you can see in the game. So you really want to get the discount or, get value out of the plot portion of it. And Chancellor Palpatine does do that. It allows you to draw a lot of cards. And it's the strongest part about Chancellor Palpatine in these Vigilance Villainy command control decks is you get to draw a lot of cards of Palpatine, right? Even if it's drawing a plot card, that still reduces the size of your deck and allows you to draw into the other removal options. You also have Condemn as another option for removal. So overall, I mean, this definitely is a solid list, but I would definitely put it in like the high B tier, low A tier side of things for Chancellor Palpatine. Next up, we've got another one that has taken down a mana tournament in Rey Green. This is another one that I think, very similar to Anakin Data Vault, is hugely improved due to just a few new additions. For example, Populist Advisor coming down as a 1/4 but turns into a 2/5 on turn 1 and then gives itself Sentinel if you attack the base. So basically, it prevents additional attacks from coming in. We've got things like Mina Bonteri, the 2/4 that draws you a card when defeated, that has Restore. That wasn't, you didn't have that in Rey beforehand. Cards like Captain Typho giving you a massive Sentinel body on 4 resources that helps you heal. Or Queen Amidala, creating a bunch of units that can leverage Rey's ability. Overall, I mean, this list has gotten a ton of new additions, all of which pretty much were used in Anakin Green. Queen Amidala, Typho, Mina Bonteri, all of which are also used in Anakin Data Vault. And you even have the addition of Hyperspace Disaster in this list because instead of running aggression cards, like in Anakin, you get to run the Vigilance side of things. So Hyperspace Disaster, Populist Advisor, Chandrillin Sponsor, all of which new additions. You even have the sideboard Captain Rex, which I thought was going to be quite interesting in Rey specifically, as another addition to potentially, preserve your Rey. If you're being attacked a ton on the ground, Captain Rex can come out of the sideboard and do some major work there. But really, I mean, all the extra early plays that can leverage Rey, having this really strong mid-range deck, is what Rey's good at. And guess what? You got even more additions for it. As for the next one, we've got a Han list. This is Han 1, who we saw a big resurgence from set 5 after the Force Throw ban. This was just a good list. To be honest, it didn't really get anything new from the new set. The only new addition we got was 1 copy of Captain Typho. Everything else is everything that we're used to. Even in the sideboard, there's not a new addition. And realistically, this just goes to show you the strength of Han's ability, as this list is still good after the Force Throw ban, simply because you can't interact with your opponent's hand nearly as much. There's not really a whole lot to say about this, but you can see that there was a few decks from set 5 that are still performing absolutely amazingly, simply for the fact of them being powerful, and set 6 not really adding a crazy amount of new cards. But that's kind of a rundown of, a bunch of the top lists. I mean, obviously you could dive into all the lists here and really go in depth and check out each one of these and see, okay, well, here's, this list adding this new card, or this list adding this new card. Set 6 really doesn't have that big of an impact on the meta. There were a few new leaders that people are trying out. Sabe, Padme, Chancellor Palpatine. We had, a few new additions to other lists. I think Command Heroism really particularly got a massive buff. And then we have another few additions in the plot category like Sudden Ferocity, Cad Bane, that type of stuff that slotted into the other styles of decks. And a few early plays. I think that's the biggest thing that set 6 gave us. Karis Nemec, Imperial Dark Trooper, Mina Bonteri, all of which are exceptional turn 1 plays that you're going to want to be slotting in your decks. And, well, that's the biggest change for me. So, let me know what you think about Secrets of Power in the comment section down below. Whether you would have liked to see more power level. Honestly, I think they could have been a little bit more aggressive with the stat lining and maybe abilities that they're seeing. Sabe being a 4/6 with Raid 1, maybe that is something that could have happened. Padme being, maybe a couple extra power, like instead of 3/8, like a 4/8 or 5/8 even. Something like that, maybe pushing them into a little bit more of a playable status. But again, we are very early in the Secrets of Power, so we might see some big shifts very quickly. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all for the next one.